everyone, and welcome back! So, last time I did a video on what if Blaze was in Sonic Prime, and I asked you guys, hey, who would you like to vote for to be in this one? And, well, you guys voted for Silver, so yippee! I'm genuinely shocked that so many of you are also Silver fans. Pretty goated opinion. And so today we'll be going over what if Silver was in Sonic Prime? So, starting off with the new Yolk Silver, I thought it'd be really interesting to have this type of Silver be more blunt and rude, more rash with his decisions. He usually works alone and has been recruited by the Resistance, but he got way too cocky with his powers, so he split from the group. Just like our Silver, this Silver also comes from the future, and just like in his world, all hope is lost. Silver looks through old records trying to see if he can find a point in time where there was still life that existed on this planet. He comes across some old records that speaks about a resistance. Silver then travels to that point in time, only to end up meeting Rebel and Renegade. Rebel and Renegade have their doubts about him. They're not easy to trust someone, especially when they're claiming to have come from the future. However, with hope looking slimmer day by day, they decide to put their trust in him. Rebel comes up with a plan that uses Silver's powers to the fullest. Silver, being more blunt and rude in this timeline, does tend to butt heads with Rebel and what she's doing. Especially since he comes from a future where her plans ended up failing. Silver reluctantly goes with her plan, and they go off into the night to strike an ambush on the Eggman Council. At first, everything is working and going to plan. The Eggman Council are completely outnumbered, especially with Silver's telekinetic powers holding back every enemy. The Eggman Council, clearly seeing that Silver opposes the biggest threat, tried to tackle him first. Just when they're about to win, Mr. Dr. Eggman pleads for forgiveness, saying they were completely outnumbered and it was all because of Silver. Of course, with Silver gaining this newfound confidence and hope, he lets his guard down, and that's when Mr. Dr. Eggman pulls out a secret trap and freezes him. Thankfully, to some quick thinking on Rebel's part, they're able to bring him back. However, because of how reckless Silver was, they realize that he's not fit for the team. Silver, upset by this, tells him that he doesn't need them anyways, and travels off into the night, decides that it's best for him to do things his own way, in order to take down the Eggman Council. So as you can tell, I kind of based the outfit off of Trunks, just because he's one of my favorite characters, and also I think it would look pretty cool on him. And if you think it looks pretty cool on him, then please comment, wow, that outfit looks pretty cool, Danny, you made a totally good decision, basing the outfit on Trunks. But yeah, I based the outfit on Trunks, and I also thought it'd be really cool to go and give him that ponytail look. The ponytail is also kind of based on Trunks during his one arc when he was training in the hyperbolic time chamber. I also thought it'd be really fun to do a reverse switch with his cuffs. As you know, his shoes usually have the red little gem on the bottom, and then it has the glowing cyan for the gold cuffs there. But I think the reverse of red and blue look pretty good. It definitely helps a lot with sticking to this being more of a good guy, anti-hero type of Silver. You know, he's just a little more forceful, a little more rude. He has a lot of confidence, and I don't blame him. His powers are really, really strong. Some of the strongest in the franchise, except, he always ends up getting his butt kicked anyways. But if he has the confidence behind it, he can definitely do a whole lot of damage. Next up, we have Boscage Maze. This version of Silver has a strong sense of justice. Remember in Sonic 06 when Silver and Amy were together? And he took a look at the view and said, wow, this place is beautiful, even though it was only a dry desert. In Silver's future, things are back to being in ruins. And so he's come back from the future in order to save the jungle. Seeing Thorn Rose and her strong sense of justice to protect the jungle, he joins alongside her. Of course, with Thorn being very wary of new travelers and strangers, she doesn't quite trust him yet. However, the first one to trust him is Birdie. With Birdie putting their faith in Silver, Thorn Rose realizes that she can warm up to him and trust him with protecting the jungle. Thorn fills him in on exactly what's been going on, and how the scavengers on top have been coming down into the forest and taking more than what they need, leaving a mess every time they came down to scavenge, tearing off pieces of the jungle, destroying plants and vegetation, taking more than what they need. Silver understood that the reason the forest got destroyed was because of the scavengers taking everything they could. He then teams up with Thorn and Rose, and they work together to protect the forest. For Silver's main attack, he has a vine wrapped around him. Using his telekinetic powers, he's able to entangle and snare any foe he comes across. The first one to fall to his trap is Mangy, leaving a warning for the others if they ever try to come back and mess with the forest again. Of course, this scares them off and they go back running. However, with them now growing more desperate due to Silver's involvement, they continue going at it for months. Up until the point that the Sonic we know and love comes into this timeline and fixes everything between Thorn and the others. They then all learn to work together and share their food and to continue replanting, giving what they take from the forest. Silver's outfit is based on vines, leaves, wood, rope, and mushrooms. I thought it'd be a really cool idea to have Silver's powers activate with glowing mushrooms. Some of you may be asking, Danny, why mushrooms? Well, that's because there is a type of mushroom that is bioluminescent. It has a beautiful blue glow in the night, and then it goes back to being a white mushroom in the day. However, with Silver's powers, I would imagine that these mushrooms will tend to glow every single time he uses them. And speaking of using them, as I mentioned before, Silver uses the vines that he finds from the forest in order to entangle and snare his enemies. These vines wrap around his whole body and are a perfect weapon to make sure no one gets away. You might think that Thorn Rose might have a problem with Silver using these vines as one of his key elements of attack. However, when he uses these vines, he's not pulling them from any trees. He's in fact using vines that have already fallen from trees for his attacks. And if the enemy gets out, he can reuse the vine over and over again. For example, when you go to a camping site and build a fire, they usually tell you not to break branches from the trees. For example, when you're picking apples, you always have to twist the apple in a specific way in order for it not to pull the entire branch off. And in this case, instead of picking up branches that have already fallen off the floor and are no longer being in use, Silver is using vines that have fallen from the trees and are no longer being in use. As for the rest of his design, we have a little bit of blue paint, or I guess it'd be more of like blue dye on the ends of his tufts of quills. And of course his quills are pretty messy, not really kept very well, and he has that little bit of red war paint on his face that makes him look super fierce. Next up, and probably my favorite of the bunch, we have No Place Silver. So as we've been going along and taking different traits from Silver's personality, this version of Silver is based on his naivety. He is just a happy-go-lucky guy, and always extremely trusting of others to a fault. For this backstory of Silver, you may be wondering, Danny, so what's this version's reason for coming back from the future to the past? And well, simply enough, I would say that in this version, in the future, there are absolutely no one left. He is the only one in No Place and is extremely lonely. Therefore, he travels back to the past in order to go and make some friends. Along that path, he meets the great pirate Dread and joins his crew. At first, Dread is like, oh, you know what? This guy's not too bad. He just wants some other teammates and partners to hang out with. It's fine as long as he's a good crewmate, that it's all good. However, this one great flaw of poor Silver's naivety will then show. This one happens to be a massive klutz. This version of Silver makes a lot of mistakes. And even though he's part of Captain Dread's crew, he's messed up so many times that Captain Dread himself is now trying to get rid of him. And yet somehow, Silver always ends up returning back to ship. Originally, Captain Dread was thinking of using this version of Silver. He was hoping that this version of Silver would help him with treasure hunting, using his powers to stop booby traps from activating, and with the ability to have levitation, he can carry all the gold he wanted. In one of Dread's expeditions, Silver willingly followed Dread's instructions, making sure that he stopped stop the traps in order for his fellow crewmates to go on ahead and take the treasure. However, him being a bit reckless and quite new to all of this, ended up making a little mistake, and Captain Dread almost lost his head. Due to that, Dread realized that this clumsy fool is more of a hindrance to the team than an ally. So he tried to abandon the poor hedgehog all alone on an island just for himself, promising that he would come back one day and never seeming to return. Ironically, by some miracle, he ended up reconnecting with the crew, and Dread has been trying to get rid of him ever since. But with the fact that Silver somehow keeps ending up on Dread's ship, Dread finally gave up and just accepted him as part of the crew, even if he really doesn't want to. Tries his best to give him the simple work, but somehow he ends up messing that up too. And when the captain gets really angry, he tends to call him fool. So, in terms of the outfit, what you're seeing here is actually a reference to a character known as Long John Silver. Thanks to Johnny once again for helping me out with the no place designs. You come up with very good ideas. Thanks, Johnny. So if you don't know the tale of Long John Silver, he was missing a leg. However, in this scenario, I thought it would be more impactful for him to be missing an arm. Since Silver mostly uses his powers with his hands, and him being clumsy and naive in this version, it only makes sense that he would probably lose an arm using his powers as well. But even with him missing an arm, he's still a happy-go-lucky boy and always thinks of the positive. His outfit is also mostly based on Long John Silver. We have a couple of tattered clothes, a little bit of a tatter in the cape. The neckerchief is also based on Long John Silver, and of course he has this little bandana, which is also once again based on Long John Silver. And there you have it, Silver and Sonic Prime. I hope you liked each design. And now, time to do the big name reveal. So first up, we have Chrome. If you're wondering why Chrome, it's because everything is Chrome in the future. I like the name. I think it fits his personality. Also, I don't know if you've realized, but instead of him having gold handcuffs, I made them chrome colored instead. Next up, we have Vines. Now, I was also thinking of naming him something like Copper or Twining, but the fact that he uses vines with his powers, and also going by the naming conventions that Sonic Prime does, I think Vines works out pretty well. And the last one is Gold. And maybe if you've picked up on this or not, as I said in Gold's story, Captain Dread tends to call him Fool, and he's very unlucky, therefore making his name Fool's Gold. I thought it would be a pretty funny pun, huh? You know, because pirates are always looking for treasure, they're always looking for gold, and then you have Silver here who ends up being a naive klutz to the point where it endangers the crew, so I think Fool's Gold actually works out quite well for him. But yeah, that's all the designs. And next up, I'll have you guys vote on some more characters you'd like to see in the future. If you like this video, don't forget to like and subscribe, and hit the bell for notifications when I upload next, because I want you guys to vote for another character I'll be drawing. So this time, the two characters on the board are gonna be Shadow and going to be Cream. Even though Shadow didn't make it for this round, I still saw a lot of people want him. And surprisingly, a bunch of you guys were requesting Cream. So I'm putting her up on the voting list too. Shadow or Cream, guys, who do you want to see next in Sonic Prime? Ooh! Goodbye for now! Bye-bye!